So here's an interesting phrase, thank you. Around Thanksgiving time here in the US, there is a lot of attention made to the giving of thanks. But as I've been learning Spanish, I noticed that the response to thank you is de nada, which would translate to English as you're welcome. But de nada doesn't actually mean you're welcome. It means essentially of nothing, presumably something like think nothing of it. But that got me thinking, what does you're welcome mean? And why do we say it? Or for that matter, what does the word thank mean? And then I started thinking, what does thank you in other languages actually mean? So I started researching it, and it was actually even more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Now, before we get into all the multilingual thanking, I just want to say from the start that I am quite certain that despite my best efforts, I will be mispronouncing some or even all of these words. So apologies in advance for that. But my intention here is not to teach you how to say these words properly, but more just to discuss the interesting ways in which we express gratitude around the world. So there are many ways to say thank you, even in English. There's the more informal thanks, or you can quantify it with many thanks, or thanks a lot, or maybe thanks a bunch. And even the hyperbolic thanks a million might not be sufficient if I can't thank you enough. You can express your appreciation or tell someone how grateful you are. Perhaps you're even forever grateful. The person could be too kind, an angel, or a dear, or even a lifesaver. If you did something really great, I might owe you one, or owe you big time, or I could even be in your debt. But back to the old classic thank you. What is a thank, and why do we give them to people? Well, thank in English, as well as the German danke, the Dutch bedankt, the Polish dziękuję, the Danish tak, the Norwegian tak, and Afrikaans dankie all descend from the Old High German danken, meaning gratitude, which itself comes from the Latin tangere, meaning think or thought, as in kindly or grateful thoughts. So to thank someone is essentially to say you will think grateful thoughts about what they've done. But many other languages have different meanings for their thank yous. The French merci comes from the Latin merces, which translates to wages or fees, and this became the Old French merci, meaning reward, gift, kindness, grace, which is also where the English mercy comes from. Spanish and Italian also get their thank yous from Latin, and it's not real surprising that gracias and grazie are related. They both come from the phrase gratias agere. Gratias means gratitude as a favor, not by compulsion, and agere means to do or act. So gratias agere means to show your gratitude by your actions. And before we leave the Latin descendants, I want to mention the Portuguese obrigado, from the Latin obligatus, meaning obligated, or more specifically, bound by obligation. This would be similar to the English phrase much obliged. From obrigado, we should probably head over to the Far East and address the Japanese arigato, which people sometimes erroneously conflate with the Portuguese obrigado, since they sound similar, but there's actually no connection and they don't even really mean the same thing. Arigato, made famous in the West by the song Mr. Roboto, is derived from the word arigatashi, which is a combination of the words for to be and difficult. The word basically means extremely uncommon or rare and precious, and was a sort of expression of religious gratitude for the blessings in life, since life can be difficult. And over time it evolved into a more general thank you. And the adverb domo in the domo arigato is used to express humility and to convey an idea of a lot or many thanks. But domo can also be used by itself as a shortened version of expressing a casual thanks to friends, or even as a greeting, perhaps to someone entering a shop, to simultaneously welcome them and thank them for stopping in. Staying in East Asia, we might as well hit the big one, Mandarin. Xie for thanks comes from the character xie, which originally meant something like to leave or resign or decline, and probably morphed into an expression of thanks as a sort of act of deference. The Korean kamsamnida is a combination of words meaning gratitude and to have a quality. And in Vietnamese, kam on would translate as something like to feel favor. In India, there are, of course, many words for thank you, and sometimes they differ depending on if you're talking to a Hindu or a Muslim. So in New Delhi, one might use the Hindi dhanyavad from the Sanskrit dhanya, meaning auspicious, blessed, lucky, something like that. But in Old Delhi, the Urdu shukriya is more common. The shukriya is derived from the Arabic root word shukr, which offers a sense of gratitude or appreciation. And some variant of the related tashakur, which means more the act of thanking, not actually to say thank you, is used in many Arabic-derived languages, such as Farsi, Turkish, and Persian, although many other words for thanks are more common in daily life, such as sal in Turkey, which literally means be right or don't die, and also can be used as a goodbye. And the French merci often shows up in many of these places as well, especially among people of different languages. I especially like the Persian dastit dard nakone, which means may your hand not hurt, and is used to thank someone when they give you a gift, as if, I hope this didn't hurt you to give this to me. I hesitate to even attempt Africa, which has over 1,000 languages. I could probably make 10 videos on African ways of saying thank you, but I'm just going to highlight some of the more widely spoken ones. I had a hard time finding information on the etymology of some of them, such as the Amharic Amasaginalahu and the Hausa Nagade, but the ones I found were interesting for their emphasis on what the thankee had done, as opposed to focusing on the feelings of the thanker. The most popular language, Swahili, gets its asante from the Arabic word meaning well done. In Yoruba, you might hear osun, which roughly means you are commendable, and comes from a combination of words meaning to do and a thing. So basically, it's commendable that you did this thing. And in Igbo, the main word is da'alu, meaning good work. And some people use imela, which means you have done well. One big one we haven't hit yet, of course, is the Russian spasiba, which comes from the ancient Slavic spasibak, meaning literally God save. Russian also has some fun expressions using the word thanks, although they are unsurprisingly less positive, such as spasiba v karman nie položiš, which means you can't put thanks in your pocket, and spasiba la chleb nie namažiš, which means you can't spread thanks on your bread. So essentially, your words of thanks aren't really doing anything for me. There are so many others that I didn't mention, such as the Hawaiian mahalo, the Indonesian terima kasih, the Hebrew toda, the Czech děkuji vám, Esperanto danken, and many others. If you have a favorite way of saying thanks, let me know in the comments below, and I'll just end with yet another apology for all of the pronunciations that I butchered, and one final,